Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Book of Vinzer Flinn. I hope everyone's 2022 is getting off to a good start. My own is pretty good so far, although I can't get anything done without a semi-feral kitten either on my lap or using me as a climbing wall. So yeah, Willow is settling in nicely. So as I mentioned before, one of the things that will be a staple of this little pod blog is mental health. And one of the things I like to do to help me with that is collect some good quotes about life, the universe, and everything. Specifically quotes from characters in the geek world, or sometimes the people portraying them. I write them as I find them in a little TARDIS notebook, which in itself seems somehow fitting. So I thought I'd share some of my favorites as we go along, and today's is... It's not the years, honey, it's the mileage. Remember that one? Said by one Dr. Henry Jones Jr., archaeologist and famous Nazi puncher. And here's why I chose that one today. I'm 45. I've been through a lot of shit that's defined who I am. A lot of it was pretty fucking not great. Heartbreaks and big letdowns, long stretches of despair and depression. But I've known a lot of people much younger that have faced such terrible things, I don't know how I would have survived them. The point I'm trying to make here is not to compare who had it worse or who's dealt with more over more time. It's that your pain is as valid as mine or anyone else's, whether depression is affecting you as a young person or someone older like me. If you're young and you're fighting depression, you know what it's like to be tired out all the time, and just getting out of bed is a monumental effort as well as I do. Depression puts that particular mileage on you, regardless of the years. I'm not sure if any of that made sense, but if the message gets through that your pain is a valid thing at any age and that it matters even if it seems small compared to another's and that you're not alone with it, then I've succeeded. So, last week I asked the question about what the worst thing you could be doing during the MCU snap and unsnap. I do believe Marvel covered the issue where things like people in airplanes and such were made safe by Bruce Banner when he re-snapped everyone. Also, Hulk doesn't get enough credit for doing that. Iron Man got all the fucking glory, and that seemed very unfair, and I'm saying that as an Iron Man cosplayer. So things like being snapped back into midair or the problem of the Earth not even being in the same place are considered not an issue for this. Although those are always interesting bits to discuss. Juice Flynn said parachuting, so again... You'd probably be safe, and you might not even notice you were snapped, but you might be wondering why it's suddenly nighttime, or winter, or where that fucking condo came from you're about to land on. Idora Somo, Mandalorian Super Commando, and my old friend said Jenga. I'll accept that. I think my favorite is from Maritime Heavy Armor buddy Carmine, who said trapeze. This leads me to realize that while those mid-air insta-deaths might have been prevented, a lot of people had to have still died from car accidents or at least suffered injuries from falls and shit. I picture the trapeze artist gracefully performing his next move only to reappear over an empty field and into a pile of cow shit. Locane Ordo said crossing the road, which seems to me to be about the most dangerous chance to get outright killed on being unsnapped. So much for all that. I'll pose a new question at the end of the episode today, but for now, it's time to head down to the crew lounge where we rejoin Reyna, Merida, Cryus, and Maggie and talk about the Book of Boba Fett Chapter 2, The Tribes of Tatooine.
I want her to come on so I can show her my things. Wow, that needs more context, but I'm not giving any. We can chat about that afterwards. Let's...
Everyone watch episode 2?
Yeah, and it was longer, which is better.
Yeah, it was long. It was something like 50 minutes or something, wasn't it?
Longer is better. Cryus 2022.
I'm tweeting that out later.
Oh, it was good. The AB plot made the longer runtime better. Or sorry, the longer runtime made the AB plot, like what I was talking about last time. It's just half an hour was really short to do an AB plot.
I found the B plot was the more engaging one this time around.
I think it got more screen time too. I don't know the exact split.
I think so too.
Well, I took a bunch of notes, so let's I'll still start making my way down them, but feel free to jump in with whatever. But at the start of the episode, they got this assassin captured from the Order of the Night Wind, and what a name! How do you go around? Yes, I'm with the Order of the Night Wind, like a vampire larper or some shit.
That's just the Dutch ovens when they fart at night.
Fantasies were getting crisscrossed there. I was like, what?
I had to mute because I was having a laughing coughing fit. So the Order of the Nightwind Assassin, when Fett's And when Fett's interviewing, or when Fett's interrogating this assassin, did you catch what he said back to him? Ichuta, which is basically Star Wars for go fuck yourself. That's what that droid said to 3PO that time. How rude.
I like that, like, Fennec was just like, he's not all that. Whatever. They go with their name. They, like, get a lot of cred for their name, whatever.
I'm amused that, torture, I sleep. Being eaten by a Rancor, I wake. Like, I don't think getting eaten by a Rancor would be any... I feel like that'd be faster. Like, I figure, like, Rancor would just... you're done. Like,
it occurs to me that Bib Fortuna must have kept... I mean, the Rancor died 5 years ago, but he must have kept the idea going that, oh yeah, we still have it, and if you fuck up, you'll go in there, because the news obviously hadn't gotten around.
Falls for it hook, line, and sinker, too. Ming-Na's character's like, there isn't one, you idiot! And I was like...
You could say that his loyalty goes where the wind blows. I'll see myself out the Dutch oven.
The Order of the Night Wind, that's when you blow a sneaker in the room at night, and you're like, who was that?
There's no fart, it's just Raptor in the corner making noises.
Yeah, he's using the back. I can't do it as good as he can.
He makes it sound like question marks.
he once grabbed the Death Star cookie thing, and he went into it like the sound a fart in a toilet bowl made, and he replicated it perfectly. And I'm like, you've practiced this.
My God, I was there for that. I remember that.
It was uncanny.
That was amazing.
All right, where are we? Oh, then Fett and Fennec go in to meet the mayor, and then they get stonewalled or / annoyed by this clerk who I feel like that happened to like fucking Favreau or Filoni or somebody. They had a terrible clerk that ruined their day, and they're like, I'm gonna make fun of this asshole in this show.
I think it just went to show that the mayor Boba doesn't have any respect from the mayor, because like the major domo went and he didn't bring the tribute and blah blah blah, and now like nobody told the clerk, like, hey, if this guy in green armor shows up, do what he says. Like, there's no fear anymore of Boba Fett.
No, there isn't.
Well, he was presumed dead.
That's fair. Yeah, because one thing that I'm not, and I'm sure this will become clear by the end of this series, is that we know the present day. It's been 5 years since the end of Jedi, but we don't really know how long was Boba out in the Dune Sea with the Tuskens for. If Boba's been assumed dead for the last 5 years by everybody but the Tuskens, I guess the Pikes. Actually, the Pikes might not even know who that was because he wasn't wearing his armor. But like,
yeah, good point. The Pikes being into it kind of brings possible Crimson Dawn connections into things, right? Like I'm kind of hoping out still for a Kira appearance if Fett's fucking with her supply lines on Tatooine. They look really good in, I mean, they look cool in Solo, but I'm so used to seeing them in Clone Wars and Rebels and shit, so it's still kind of cool to see them in real life.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that we finally got, I think, our first ever live action Ithorian.
Well, we've had live action, but always background. This is definitely the first guy to speak and kind of have a titular role kind of thing.
An Ithorian with a speaking role.
I liked the flow of it, though. It was broke up nicely between the two plots.
Yeah, they didn't flip-flop back and forth. They did all of the A plot and then did all of the B plot, which I thought was better because you're not jumping back and forth between...
Kept me engaged, yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like with the story that they told, especially for I hesitate to call the flashbacks the B plot because I feel like that's more of the stuff that that's more what the people want to see. Like, I know that's what I look forward to, is seeing where the heck he was, like, all those years.
People were saying that, online were saying that, okay, Din Djarin obviously has a connection with the Tuskens. He knows their sign language and they didn't attack him on sight. Fett's got something, obviously a very profound connection with the Tuskens now, so obviously I feel like they're going to go for the trifecta with Obi-Wan because it's another Tatooine story, right? So the Tuskens are going to become this fully realized culture in Star Wars that never was, and you know what? I'm there for it.
And for anybody who cares, so the director of this episode was a woman named Steph Green. She's not, I wouldn't call her the most experienced director. She's got a lot of credits of stuff we've watched, but that's just one episode at a time. She did one episode of the new Watchmen miniseries. She did an episode of The Man in the High Castle. She did one episode of Luke Cage. She did one episode of Preacher.
Those are all really good shows.
Mhm.
One episode of Bates Motel and one episode of American Gothic were the only ones that really jump out at me and stuff that I know of. There's The Americans, Scandal, I don't know, a bunch of, but she's done like a lot of like one episode of a series. She doesn't have any films to her name and no like long running series types thing.
Watchmen was an incredible series, absolutely incredible. So after Fett meets the mayor, he's going outside, or he goes to Garza's brothel again,
Cantina.
Another cantina, and then it kind of struck me as weird. It seemed like Fett was kind of bumbling around, nobody was telling him anything, and he's just like, well, what am I supposed to know? And then okay, time to go outside, and then we meet Jabba's cousins, the twins, and I'm doing this thing now, like when I take notes when I watch the show, and I'm starting to write down quotes by Courtney. And so okay, Fett's about to go outside, he's going to meet who his adversaries are, and Courtney goes, I don't even want you to know that I was listening. She goes, here we fucking go. I thought we were going to get a street smackdown.
The Hutts definitely gave me a little bit of a Lannister vibe there, a little bit. Somebody, I saw a tweet wondering if Jabba's son is going to show up at some point.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, actually, I don't want to spoil anything because Courtney hasn't seen it, but Jabba's kid, definitely, there's some Clone Wars material there.
But we got to see our second ever Star Wars live. Oh, no, not our second, because I suppose we got to see them on episode 3. But we got first Black Wookiee. And Black Kurstan, I think is how you say it.
Yeah, this is kind of big, and this ties into one of my stretch cameo predictions about Dr. Aphra, the really good Marvel comic, and it's Black Chrysanthemum, I think his name is, and he's a badass like bounty hunter motherfucker. And I saw him, and I was like, oh my god, did they just bring a comic character into actual canon? Well, the comics are supposed to be canon. I don't know. I haven't really read much, so I don't know how much we really stick to that. But they brought a character over from the comics, and he looks fucking phenomenal. I can't wait to see more of him.
The books too, I think he was in. Was he the one who was in the Bounty Hunter books?
No, I looked it up, Joni. I was wrong on that one.
Oh, okay.
So in the old Bounty Hunter books, there is a Wookiee bounty hunter, but that's all Legends now, and that's not the same guy.
I was just impressed with his highlighting job. Like his hair was
that tips, right?
Like right? Like who's bringing back frosted tips for the 90s?
Right?
He is.
Wookiees
Who's going to tell a Wookiee he looks silly? No one.
And from what I'm aware of, Boba's description of his backstory is completely accurate.
I'm pretty sure they've met before.
In the comics, they have. What Boba describes as his Boba says something like, I'm not a sleeping Trandoshan guard.
Right.
So that is how from what I've read, that is how he escaped. He was a gladiator or whatever, Trando, or whatever the heck the Trandoshan homeworld is called. And he killed his guards and escaped. And now he is a badass.
Looking forward to more of that. I'm hoping that this somehow ties into a possible Chewbacca cameo. I would love to see Chewbacca and Black Chrysanthemum fucking go at it.
Stare down.
That'd be a great fight. That'd tear the whole fucking town apart.
Said that guy's name was Black Chrysanthemum.
I don't even know if I'm saying the name right. I'm just going by but it's like with a bunch of R's and Santan.
Well, you said it twice, so then I heard the actual one, and I was like, all that time, I'm like, it can't be Chrysanthemum.
You're like, this badass Wookiee bounty hunter. I'm Black Chrysanthemum. Fear me.
That's like a Mystery Men tryout right there.
Yeah, I used to know the space and the
Black
screen.
Chrysanthemum. I use my fertilizer to. You just. Okay, Carl. Okay, Carl. Can you just admit that you just poop on them? Can you just admit that that's your thing?
Waffle man.
I use my fertilizer to fight them off. You just poop on them, Phil. Just.
One of the things I commented to Merida while we were watching is I was like, the hot lady not know how small that fan is relative to her actual mouth? Like, that's not covering her mouth.
Very demure.
It just popped into my head who they remind me of.
Who?
In that weird season, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where they get shot into the future, and there's the brother and there's the guy who's like in charge of their station or wherever they're to, and then he's got the dangerous side counterpart, and she won't really speak to anybody but him, kind of thing. I don't know, it just really gave me those vibes.
But I don't think that they are specifically gendered. I thought there was something that we learned with the Hutts.
They can
Yeah.
they can reproduce by themselves. They're so kind of, I think,
Yeah.
like Jabba did. He parented the baby himself.
But they could, they could be whatever gender worked for the time.
Yeah.
So that whole sister brother thing, are they?
I found it funny that Hutts are too good for handkerchiefs. They have to wipe the sweat off their brow with tiny furry creatures.
I noticed that too.
Like Roman
And-
emperors, eh?
But did you look at its face the whole time? Because they were giving it facial expressions the
Oh
whole
my
time that
God.
it was
Yes.
having to wipe it.
I missed that.
I thought they were going to eat it, honestly.
It was-
I didn't even notice them
bad.
wiping their brow until it was pointed out to me. I thought it was going to, like, eat it as a snack.
His face was like just mortified the whole time. It was like it was the best.
At the end, it bit his finger and then he dropped it.
One thing I've got to give props for is obviously the Hutts were CG. There's no way they puppeted that. But the guys carrying their litter, like, looked visibly uncomfortable carrying it. Like, while they're standing there talking to Boba and Fennec, you can see one of the guys that's kind of in the middle of the frame, like, awkwardly shift his weight around, like, oh my God, this is heavy, and we're just standing here not moving. I thought that was a really good touch.
The Hutts are like they're a big wormy muscle. Like they can move on their own and if they hit people with their tail, they're quite powerful. So, but this guy knows if I drop these motherfuckers, I am dead meat.
Yeah, because they would tip forward and squish him too, because he's right in front of them.
One thing I noticed about this episode is that the people that do remember Fett keep addressing him as if he's a bounty hunter, and it's starting already to me turning into this thing. I'm not a bounty hunter. I'm a crime lord. Come on.
One thing I'm really interested in, and I don't know if any of you caught this, is Fennec and Boba are talking, and Boba says, we'd have to get permission to kill them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, permission from who, Mr. Fett? Permission from who?
Cartel of some sort. I just assumed he meant other Hutts, but he might mean more people. Like maybe they've got like I said, syndicate with Crimson Dawn and Black Sun and all that shit. I really want to see.
My question is, who does Boba Fett care enough about to ask permission to kill somebody?
But he wants to rule out of respect, right? So he can't just murder them if he wants to respect the rest of the bosses.
Are we good with the A plot, or is there other things from the A plot before we move on?
I think that was the end of the A plot, right?
Yeah.
The A plot wasn't too long. It was good, but we were more into Tuscan land.
So I'm just gonna hop right into it. Do we really buy that badass is a Tuscan? Like, are we buying that? The one that kind of just like swoops in?
The dreadlock guy?
Yeah, and more black than the other ones. Like she's,
Yeah.
Which I think it's been determined that that's a woman.
Well, we looked it up, and the person playing that Tuscan is a woman stunt person, and she did like Captain Marvel and Wonder Woman, so she's done stunts in the big leagues, and but there's something that she's like. If it's a girl character in the show too, super kick ass. Like I was almost like, okay, is this like a force sensitive type situation? Because she's really, really good.
Yeah, I loved her. I assumed it was a man, which spat on me, but I love that character, especially during the train scene.
Oh yeah,
Like that
She was
kicked
pretty
ass.
badass.
Raina and I, when Tamir Morrison and the Tuscan, when Boba and the Tuscan were training with the staff, I was like, hold on here, is Tamir Morrison actually teaching the stunt woman how to use the cane fighting? Is he teaching her as they're filming?
I really loved this plot. Like I found myself like actually being like, I think I really like this show. I just enjoyed the energy, and I enjoyed like it was just like, I don't know if you'd use the word choreographed, but like that whole training montage was great, man. I loved every minute of it.
and the top of that whole train fight scene made up for anything in the episode 1. Like that was a wonderful, that was a well done scene. And my theory is that she's not actually a Tuscan. I'm just gonna say Ahsoka, because that would just be funny at that point.
Yeah,
because she's hiding anyways. So
She's
to
got
say
those
she's
big
not
head
hiding
tails
there,
to hide, though. I don't know. My stretch goal was Mara Jade hiding, but
that would be
that's
cool.
a pretty big stretch.
This is the most Cowboys versus Indians thing I've literally like homage to the atypical Native Americans raid a train that's carrying cannons or guns or whatever.
You can't get more exciting than a good train job. It was the same with the Solo movie. It's very exciting.
And you know what? My favorite part of this episode was we finally fucking got to see Tashi Station.
Huge Easter egg here. Did anyone else catch it?
The two human characters?
Yeah.
I had to look it up afterwards. I didn't realize who they were until
They are Cammy and Fixer, Luke Skywalker's friends from Tashi Station. They were in the novelization. I think they were originally in the first one of the first cuts of the movies, but they never made it into the final. But yeah, that was a little classic Star Wars Easter egg there. It was the subtitles that gave it away. It said Cammy. He's like, why do I know that name? Okay, they're on Tatooine.
Merida made the comment that was the most Flynn scene of the entire new Star Wars ever. Walks into a bar, sizes everyone up, takes all their asses, takes a drink, leaves without saying anything to anybody.
It's happened a few times. I was just telling Raina the story the other night how I accidentally killed that bounty in the Mos Eisley canteen of the guy kicked out of the guild, who was, in fact, a hammerhead who got kicked out for being very rude about Canadians. And I went to a canteen late one night drunk, and I accidentally killed him and got his bounty. I was like, fuck him.
How we roll.
It was good.
Accidentally killing people. Yeah, yeah.
We accidentally
cut off
kill a
their
lot of
heads.
people.
But the fact that there's a plural to that cutting off someone's head does bring up some extra questions.
That's like, what? How else are you going to prove it? Like, if I go...
Merida not only cut off a bounty or two heads, she went back to kill a bounty that, like, or not, he wasn't even a bounty, he was that Naboo Lord. You went back and you're like, oh.
He was rude.
Yeah.
You know, when you don't get your new friend's shot.
Look, that was an accident.
So this is the part that I'm really interested in with this B plot is Fett finding this family with the Tuskens, and he obviously respects them and he's going out of his way to help them. And in a weird way, this almost goes against everything we kind of believed about Fett for the last 40 years. We always see Fett as kind of two-dimensional, like he goes kind of like the bar scene. He goes in, fucking kills everybody, leaves. He's a total loner, but he's not doing that. And it occurs to me that there's so little we actually know about the man that Fett is. And this, I'm liking what I see. He's a man of honor. He's helping these people. Like it's just really cool to me. And it's kind of like sticking it to that two-dimensional image we've had of him. But like I said, I'm here for it.
The whole, they wear Mandalorian armor, right? When not technically Mandalorian, neither Jango nor Boba. Or, do you hit a point, I guess, where you start taking on some of the culture more than just the cool armor? It's
Fett's still rocking a mythosaur on his shoulder armor.
Yeah.
Like he didn't have to put that back on there, so I'm wondering if they're going to address all that.
To say one thing, Django's a foundling, so he technically is a Mandalorian. But Boba
but
is
you
not.
know what I mean. Like not, I don't know. It's just that, like Boba Fett in particular he wasn't raised to be Mandalorian. He wasn't
He
even
owes no
particularly
allegiance to the
given the culture.
Mandalorian creed.
Yeah, so it's just kind of.
He
it
might have been
seems like-
raised more Mandalorian, but he's orphaned at like 9 or 10.
Yeah.
I can't imagine Aura Singh particularly caring too much about Mandalorian honor, because he could have taken. Like, I'm really curious at this point, what is keeping him there? Because he could have just taken those speeders and pieced out, right? Like he could have just grabbed a speeder and be like, "Peace out, I'm going to Anchorhead," or whatever, or to Mos Espa. But he's like, "No, I fucking hate that train. I'm going to help you fuck up that train."
And I mean, again, he's staying here helping these Tuskens. My first thought is that he would go and be looking for his ship and his armor immediately, but he's not doing that. Like we know now, he took 5 years before maybe he couldn't, but it was 5 years before he got his armor back, and we haven't seen his ship yet.
I think we won't see Slave One until much later. I don't think.
I found myself questioning why he was hanging out with them too, because I thought, like, how is it possible that he can't just get away from them at this point? If he really wanted to. And the only thing I could think of, because I don't know anything about anything, was that maybe he was down so low that he kind of stuck to these guys because they were treating him better, and maybe he's figuring out his shit.
Yeah, I think you're right.
The Dune Sea is large, and if you go in the wrong direction, they'll never find you.
But I did thoroughly enjoy that episode, I gotta say. Good.
Well, it was really cool, I thought, especially even at the end, the way, that was Haka at the end. That was, that they're kind of bringing together, his actual culture as well to kind of...
Maori.
Yeah, Maori culture to kind of I don't know, fill in the gaps, I guess, for his.
Yeah, I dig it.
I also really just enjoyed the whole montage of the speeder.
It was missing an 80s montage music thing, but
It was.
This is another weird thing about Fett. Is like, this is, what did you think you'd expect to see Fett doing in the show? Kicking ass, jetpacking? No, he's in his pajamas. He's bouncing on a speeder going like this, like not what I expected.
Well, the one thing for me as someone who's never really seen the movies and don't really know, like I didn't know those guys' names were Tuskens until today. I used to really hate those guys a lot. And then, like, I don't even know why. I was like, well, they just don't have any character. Like, they're just sort of wandering around in the dunes. What the fuck are they doing? You know, like, for some reason, like, anyway. So to see them, like, do the training videos and, like, fall off and, like, you know, have highs and lows and be happy and, you know, whatever. I was like, oh, man, I finally, like, have a personality to this weird goggle thing I've been, cringing at for 40 years.
I kind of wonder. Because they have been, I mean, they've been generally considered at least kind of bad guys in Star Wars. Like, I mean, they killed Anakin's parents.
Mom.
Right? Or mom, sorry. So that was, yeah. But that's the whole thing. I'm wondering whether, did they? Like, I'm just wondering if it's going to be maybe they were set up, I guess.
Well, no. Well, we see, Joni, we see them, we see Shmi, like, tied up in their tent.
We
bloodied
see
and
people
bruised.
wearing their robes and masks and stuff. You don't know who. Maybe they're just bad ones.
Well, I feel like the
could be something
Tusken leader addressed that in this episode. He's like, some of the tribes took to killing, and other ones just want to stay hidden in the desert, right? So.
Oh, okay.
Also, when you think about it, they had Shmi Skywalker tied up as a captive, and it looked like she got treated pretty roughly, so maybe that was a bad tribe. But you know what? They didn't treat Fett much better when they first got him either, right?
That's
so
true.
it's kind of like wary of the Outlanders, sort of thing.
The spice-fueled lizard was kind of...
Another thing on a list of things I did not expect to see in this show is Fett bouncing on a bike and a lizard going up his fucking nose.
All right, in the age of COVID, that is not sanitary because you know that has been in the nostrils of many a Tusken.
That is what I said. I'm like, how many people had this lizard in their nose?
Exactly.
I had concerns.
Like, do they bathe it in between?
They just put it back in the box. Like, okay.
Ready for next time.
I fully didn't expect it to come back out. Like, I was like, oh, it went in and died and did its thing.
No.
I figured it'd be like the babble fish from like Hitchhiker's Guide. Like it's in there, and now it's in there, and it's that's it.
I was kind of along the same thing. I was like, okay, does he just have like a symbiotic lizard now forever?
I honestly thought for a bit that he was actually going to be able to understand them so that they could like change the speech up or something. That would have been cool.
I think I'd be disappointed if they did that though. If the Tuskens were understandable, they would really lose a bit of mystique for me.
Kind of upset that we got to see how a gaffy stick is constructed before we got to see a live action lightsaber construction.
I saw on Reddit that the gaffy stick is actually inspired by a real weapon from Fiji. It's like a traditional weapon, so it's actually a real thing. It's really cool. You beat the fuck out of someone with that, I'll tell you that much.
Well, because it's a very interesting weapon, right? Because it's a club / spear combo, right? So you can bludgeon with one end and you can stab with the other. So you can go less lethal.
And it's a staff, so you can parry with it as well.
Yeah. And it's hooked, so you can disarm as well, right?
Yeah. I thought the hook was pretty neat, man. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Oh, the train job. I don't know, Christ, if you remember or not, or Meredith. Has Spice ever been named like that before? Because he said Sansana Spice or Sansana Spice or whatever it was. I've never heard it called anything but just Spice. I wonder if that's the first time they've given it kind of a name.
I don't remember either, but you gotta wonder with Dune being out too. Like, there's gotta be.
It's awfully close, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah. No, you're not wrong.
It's based off of Dune. I'm pretty sure George Lucas has talked about it at some point.
Dune came first, as we discovered.
I just really have to commend the comedic timing of this episode. Like, it reminds me from when he was like, oh, well, what does this spice look like? And then immediately hauls it out and he's like that. And
it was good.
I laughed at the train scene when they get to the point that they're fighting on top of the train and they're shooting at Boba, and the really cool Tusken gets underneath and then pulls the guy down and then pops up and looks around, and then it's like pops back down, and then down goes the guy behind him, and it was like, I laughed at it. I'm sorry.
I like that the droid pilot just pieced out. He's like, nope, not dealing with this. Out the window.
Still out in the desert running for his life.
It sort of felt like when he was running away on his 4 robotic legs, he was like, the tone was like that he was going to get in shit. It was like, oh.
Hey, I'm going to get fired.
That's the actual mayor now. This is he rose to the top when his walk across the desert. The other guy was just a scapegoat.
Sure.
Mayor McGooch face, that's what I called that guy.
Mayor McGooch. There's another tweet for you, Ben.
Mayor McGooch face.
My dumb brain, while I watched this morning, was like, oh man, because they keep saying the word mayor. Who's the mayor? And I was like, the joke in my head. I'm like, haha, it's Mayor McCheese. And then when it showed up on the screen, I was like, it's Mayor McGooch.
Right now, the character I'm most interested about is actually the mayor, because he doesn't give 2 fucks about Boba replacing Bib Fortuna. His guards like fucking lightning assassinated that guy like right in the middle of the reception room, and he just seems to give no fucks about anything. I'm very curious as to how he came to his position as the mayor of Mos Espa.
I think he's a puppet, because I don't know. Ithorians are traditionally very peaceful, like farming creatures. I don't think he's the mayor. Or if he is, he's a puppet mayor. There's somebody else behind him. I bet. I realize I'm reaching for conspiracies here, but I don't know. That's just a guess.
After WandaVision, we feel a little bit more validated with all of these conspiracy theories.
What did we watch the other night? We were watching a Marvel something. It was Hawkeye. We were getting to the end of Hawkeye. We won't spoil anything, but we got to the end, and I was like, "Oh, that's it." And I was sure that and she's like, "Oh, Marvel trust issues," but there was nothing at the end. But yeah, I fucking went back and checked after I turned it off.
When he beat me to it, I was going to say clearly the mayor is Mephisto.
Mephisto. It actually would be a great turnabout if the guy who we think is the secretary is the mayor. That'd be amazing.
The major domo, you mean?
Yeah.
I have a theory that major domo is related to Madame Garza.
I kind of feel like she's the person that actually put the hit out on Fett. I don't think it was. No, but I mean both hits though. Like the with the Nightwind Dutch oven people. I think at first everybody was like, mayor, because I mean they got said, and then it's like, it was me, but the Hutts are in town, so it's like, oh, and then everybody just kind of like, oh, clearly it was them. I don't think so. I think it's her. I think she's
that Fett was redirected back towards Garza's place, and then she's the one that pointed him towards the Hutts. Makes me feel like she's engineering this and on the
Yep. Is she the mayor?
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah.
I mean, it'd be smart casting. I'm just fascinated with the dark Tusken, like the badass one. I just think that she's fascinating. Like, I'm really interested to see kind of where her character goes.
And I'm already worried that by the time Fett's time with the Tuskens comes to an end, that character is going to get killed, and it's going to have some sort of motivating effect on Fett.
Yeah, that or the tribe leader, like the one, because there's the one in charge, and then there's the really deadly one, and then there's the child. So I'm like, please focus less on the child. Please focus more.
Does anyone else feel like the tribe leader? He's almost too laid back. He comes out once in a while and goes, "Sup," and then he just goes back in his tent.
Yeah. It's like, yeah.
I think he's like a shaman type character.
He's got his own lizard.
He's the clone shaman.
That's what I was gonna say. He's just hooked on the lizard. Hooked on vitamin L.
You think they're hanging around in a week and going, "Hey, what do you guys want to do tonight? You want to shove the lizard up our noses and get fucked?"
How the fuck do normal Tuskens who don't show any of their face get the lizard into their bodies? So I was curious when they're robing him up, which was really cool to see just how they apply all the robes and whatever that the Tuskens wear, the layering. They didn't offer him like the face. They just said, "We'll give you a hood, you'll be fine."
Whatever to keep that sun off of his nice, shiny, sunburned head.
Yeah, one thing I noticed about just a stupid little thing was that when they went on the train to to attack the train. He didn't have a helmet or any facial, and they're just fucking flying.
Oh,
on
you'd have sand in your eyes. It'd be all gritty.
Like you'd never be able to open your eyes, and he's just like, "Come on, man."
That's true.
No windscreen, no goggles, no helmet, no nothing.
On a planet with 2 suns, like his head would be a fucking peeling nub of flesh.
Red. But you know what though? Like I for the first time in my life, I allowed myself to suspend my disbelief and think like, well, he does look pretty cool on those, and like without the helmet. And what helmet would he wear if he did wear one that wasn't already his Boba Fett helmet, right? Yeah, I guess you can't put a different helmet on him, and maybe that's why.
That's actually that's a great point. Yeah, we'll never see Fett in any helmet but his own. That's
like what would it be? You know,
I wonder if this is outside of the episode. I wonder if in any of the flashback portions are we going to get to see him like scoping out Moss, whatever the heck it was, where Timothy Oliphant is right now. But I wonder if we'll get to see the other side of him meeting Fennec.
Yeah, I'm hoping for that. I was thinking that the other day. Like, I really want to see, the rest of that.
Because in Mando, right, we see her like bleeding out in the desert, and then we just kind of see his boots, and then that's the end. And then when we come back, it's like, LOL, we're besties. Master Boba this and Master Boba that.
Someone had to fix her up, put the parts in, save her life,
make her bionic.
Yeah.
You got a mechanical tummy.
I just had a general Star Wars question, and it's like, I know it's called Star Wars. It's gonna make me sound so stupid, but like, is there a war going on throughout the stars all the time? And the reason I ask this is like, every planet's a dump, man. What the fuck? Is it all worn torn or what?
Tatooine's on the outer rim. It is the Wild West frontier. And yes, there's almost always a war going on because there's either an emperor rising or falling and people rebelling against it. So, yeah.
So that is the Star Wars. Those are the Star Wars.
The other planets are like where the city's the whole planet and shit. Like Tatooine's on the ass end of the galaxy. That's why they keep using it, because Star Wars is supposed to be a Western frontier story, right?
In Boba right now, one war just ended. Like...
Okay.
Like when Boba Fett punches his way out of the Sarlacc pit in the first episode, like the war ends like shortly after that. So that's like that's episode 6, going with the Ewok.
Okay.
Luke beats the Emperor and they blow up the second Death Star. This is happening right after all that.
Yeah, the war ends like a year after that. Tatooine is like as far from civilization as you could get.
That was sort of the whole premise, is that a farm boy from nowhere becomes the biggest hero in the galaxy. That was the whole idea.
Think of it like with North America during the 1800s, right? Where like everybody settled on the East Coast. Only imagine that they're planets. So then that's like the populated cities and nicer places, and they have casinos, and some are really fancy. And then it just kind of gradually people started moving farther west, and then like Tatooine's like Wild Wild West, like pretty much.
So okay, that makes sense. But Luke Skywalker is from Tatooine?
He was placed there after he was born to hide him from Darth Vader.
He thought he was from Tatooine.
Yeah.
Oh, so he was like hiding out there like a king's son sort of deal where he goes off.
Owen and Beru were his actual family, but him and Leia were separated at birth to protect them from Vader, because they knew they would never stop looking for them if they knew they existed.
Where did she go when that happened?
She was adopted by Jimmy Smits, Bail Organa, and she moved to Alderaan, and she was raised as royalty. Yes.
I did not know any of that.
And on that note, we end the crew lounge for today, and we'll be back for more next week. If I succeed at increasing my sister's Star Wars knowledge, all this has been worth it. And so in these first 2 episodes, we've barely seen Fett in his iconic helmet at all as we start getting his backstory. In the mid-90s, while living in the States, I bought, 1993, I think it was, Dawn Post Boba Fett replica helmet. I spotted it at a mall and absolutely had to have it. And it was a fantastic weighty chunk of plastic, and the smell of it while wearing it still takes me back to that time. It was in my luggage when I returned to Canada, which got lost, found, and returned, but the helmet had a bit of a warp into it that remains to this day. And for years I toted it around with me to various apartments, a great display piece, but that was pretty much it. In the late 90s, I was crashing with a friend at his apartment for a couple weeks before a few of us rented a house back home, so I plunked the helmet on top of his fridge. I had a lot of fun in those weeks, but the place was a hub of douchebags that dropped by, and the helmet was promptly stolen. The thing was, I didn't even notice it at first. One of the people we knew upstairs dropped by and asked for help moving a couch. That done, I saw the Fett helmet sitting in his roommate's room on his desk. There was no mistaking it, and I put it together pretty quick. But to my credit, I didn't do what I normally would have done back then, which is lose my shit. I calmly said, "Oh, there it is. I've been looking for that," and plucked it up and left, leaving behind two fucking arseholes with stunned expressions. Much later, in 2009, when Eudora Somo and I were neck-deep playing Star Wars Galaxies, our friend Jenny asked us if we'd heard about this Halcon thing coming the next year. It was news to us, but we knew we had to do something for it, so we decided to build our character's Mando armor. Vinzer's general look was more or less shaked out by this point, so I did the unthinkable and repainted the Fett helmet to my colors and never looked back. Over the next couple years, Maritime Heavy Armor started up, a multi-genre armor cosplay group that started here in Halifax, and we raised money for Prostate Cancer Canada. We'd go on walks, raise some cash, and then head to a pub and make a big spectacle of ourselves, which is half the fun. It always had a helmet lineup shot on the bar. By then, the helmet was already 15 years old, and I was very protective of it, annoyingly so. So to all my MHA friends, I'm sorry. People wouldn't even touch it unless they were 100% clear to. We were out on a charity walk on a summer day, and we made a stop at Pizza Corner for a bite. I can't remember what the occasion was, but there was a lot of day-drunk people around the city, so I guess it was Friday or Saturday or Tuesday, if you like. I popped my helmet on a metal bollard pole thing while we were ordering food from a guy at a cart. Once again, I didn't notice my helmet had been stolen, this time by a drunken rando that was walking by with friends. He just plucked it up and kept walking. Phoenix leapt into action and retrieved it. I was livid, and I didn't want to get into a fight, but I verbally harangued this guy until he was out of sight. I've never, before or since, hurled such insults to another person loudly and in public. Stolen twice now. So that was the whole reason I got into making EVA foam Mando helmets. I knew I had to figure out a replacement system so I could stop worrying about breaking this one. So as Halcon wrapped up, and I think it was in 2015 or something, I was emotionally wiped. A 3-day con can take it out of you as it is, but I was going through a very hard time. I was absolutely wrung out. Phoenix and I were waiting for somebody in a parking garage with a few boxes, a cardboard cutout of Fat Apollo, and our helmets. I popped mine onto a box to wait, and a gust of wind blew at just the right moment and knocked the cardboard cutout just enough, which Phoenix was holding, into my helmet. Helmet hit the pavement and just cracked in two. I remember my shoulders sagging. That was it. I was done, as broken as the helmet. Phoenix had the look of a man who was considering his escape routes, but it was not his fault. I remember being stuffed into a booth with Juice and Jinx at the after party, and I lashed the helmet back together with a bunch of gold duct tape, which I had for some reason. And later on, I fixed and patched it. Broken, but never beaten, just like me. So that's the history of my original Mandalorian Fett helmet, now enjoying its retirement on the shelf as its grandchildren spread across the world. The new ones bounce. Okay, new question for the internet for next time. I saw this thread on Reddit the other day, and we'll go back and see what they came up with, but the question was, what would happen in your R-rated Star Wars movie? Who would get the single use of the word fuck, or would you add a lot of splattered brains and gore to the fights? Drop a line or comment with your idea. That's all for today. Thanks for hanging out, and see you next time. Remember, you can support this podcast at patreon.com/VinzerFlynn. And this is Vinzer Flynn, the Last Starfighter, signing off.